The best thing you can do after a bad race or experience is pick yourself up, take the lessons and move on. Here's how I went from stumbling over the finish line, depleted, to running my perfect race. I can't hide the fact that what happened in Hyrox in London scared the shit out of me. And stepping up to the Hyrox start line again was a mixed feeling of being blessed to give it another go, but also worry about it happening again. I ran Maastricht in Holland, and it was hands down the best Hyrox experience yet. I've been doing this since 2022. There's three main points I want to focus on here throughout this video. Number one is fueling. Hyrox London was a ticking time bomb where I underfueled and blew up on race day, and how I went from this to getting back on track. Then number two is pacing. Have I been going out hard all this time and not been able to reach my true performance in the run laps? Number three is mindset. My why for doing these races got a bit lost, and now I find it again in a big way. So first up is fueling. One decision can be the difference between fainting over the finish line and finishing with a smile. That finish line bonk at Hyrox London was scary as fuck. Katie and I took a punt on it being fuel related, but didn't really know. Like, how can you know? And given it came out of nowhere last time, the fear of it happening again also lingered big time. I really only had one choice: to get back out there and race again.
I heard man when I chat and chit. I come through that what's good, these weeks getting split. Man better breathe and sprint. It's long if I choose to bite down on these pricks. X is a lyrical 4-4 and this, so make sure it's X that you wanna rally with. Oh, make a big man turn to a kid. Shout out scope and I'll flat out wigs. Never seeing X's with your eyes closed. Don't move past girls behind your eyelid. Bars and flows, check out their mixture. Told them man can't handle the fixture. It's all funny games to the person saying it's all funny games. Get beat up and cocked out the picture. Must be active if you think you can wig me. I'll tell my man put down the liquor. Which means I lost them. Genie's out of the bottle when I ain't going back, so now I'm a problem. They can't land, I'm a pro or column. Lyrically taking lives, I'm taking souls. Can see man's never been stolen. I take heads off, I leave them rolling, just like balls in bowling. I'm a fully charged in a machine like, man better be careful of me. I ain't just another MC, I'll spin your clock 360 degrees, flat line on set. Melody that to see she got a rating, but watch that decrease. Watch your whole team get smashed to pieces. Don't puff out your chest like Reese's.
Build up to Hyrox London, I've been doing a lot of intermittent fasting. High fat, high protein, not a huge amount of carbs. Got very used to going on my morning runs fasted, even done some sessions fasted. I actually felt great, balanced energy levels. Yeah, some of my workouts felt laboured, but largely I thought that was fatigue, when actually I think it might have been fueling. I got so used to not feeling hungry that on race day I had a bowl of yogurt, so by the time I reached the finish line I was out of gas, and then this happened. Fasting is a great tool, but for me now I know it has to be periodized correctly with when my races are. Since then, in the run up to Hyrox Maastricht, I increased carbohydrates, still ate high protein and a lot of good fats, and made a conscious effort to fuel well in the days either side of my big workouts. So that's eating well before and eating well on the days after. I carb loaded from several days out rather than just the day before, and a decent sized breakfast of toast, jam, fruit and eggs. During the race I also took on water much earlier than I did at Hyrox London. I drank Red Bull throughout. In Hyrox London I didn't drink until about station 4. I didn't drink any Red Bull, so I took on no extra carbohydrates throughout the race. So if you look at my times from Hyrox London and Hyrox Maastricht, you can see that in London I just gradually declined throughout the whole race, whereas in Hyrox Maastricht all my runs were consistent and all my stations were pretty consistent. I actually spent most of my time just in the rock zone, but hydration and getting on those carbohydrates was important to me because I just did not want that thing to happen again at the Warbles. So next up is pacing. In Hyrox London, my pacing strategy was just to go out hard and hang on. For Maastricht, my strategy was to run the runs consistently and underpace the stations, so take the stations way easier than I needed to. For example, I intentionally took a 10-second rest at the end of each sled push length. That's something I've never done before, but this time I just wasn't taking any chances. My strategy was to run the runs at around 4:15 a kilometre, or 1 minute 23 per lap, I think is what we calculated it at. Essentially, use the stations more like recovery and keep the runs comfortably hard. So I say recovery, like I'm still obviously working during the stations, but it's like working at an effort that is below what I know I can sustain. The thing I found with Hyrox is that you can play around loads in training, but in order to get better at racing, you have to move more. So taking the time to try things out, not being afraid to fail, and find where your edge is, that's what it's all about. And of course, having as much fun as possible during the process, like during your training, during race day, it's all for the love. What's mad is how many different ways there are to run a Hyrox race and get the same outcomes. I didn't run the rock zone. I really lent into taking time to recover before hitting each run leg, walking and hydrating each time I entered the rock zone. This is not an ideal strategy for running your best time, like not by far. But in this instance, it really served me well to get a great, clear benchmark to build from. I now have a race under my belt where my times across individual stations and each run segment are very consistent. So now I can adapt my training based on the strategy of running hard and keeping the stations moderate. I think the biggest lesson I've learned throughout all my races is to be honest with the type of athlete you are and the fitness levels you currently have. Like, are you the type of athlete that can power through the station, but then will it cost you later in the race? Or can you run faster splits, but then you're going to need more time to recover in the rock zone? It's all about finding that balance, and that's what makes this sport so exciting. Lastly, it's mindset. Recently, I found my self-talk or inner dialogue in Hyrox races either be non-existent or positive. I don't know if that's just because I'm more used to the physiological pressure of the races or what, but I'm here for it. In Maastricht, I really enjoyed myself all the way around. I worked hard, and yeah, I definitely took some stations far too easy, like at one point during lunges, had the biggest smile on my face and was just taking in the moment, like being really present, something I've never done before, just looking around, enjoying and feeling blessed to be there, because usually I'm suffering big style by then. But this race really brought the love back for me after Hyrox London. Like I said, that was a scary experience, and it was a much needed confidence boost, and it was reassuring, like, yeah, I am doing things right in training. Like, I don't have a coach, so all of this is trial and error, data and the feedback my body gives me, and I love that. I'm sure it takes me far longer to get to some conclusions than if I had a coach, but I love the journey and the self-discovery and the freedom to do what feels good. I love that far too much to follow a program. When I followed programs in the past, I ended up getting injured and not really feeling like I was performing my best. So for me, it's like that whole journey of self-discovery and finding out what type of athlete I actually am and what works best for me is all part of it. It doesn't always have to be about personal best. It can also be about personal growth too. Like, I wouldn't be saying this if I ran a PB. I was only like 1 minute out, not even. But it's important to remember that not all success is measurable through time or obvious on the surface. This was my perfect race. It's the race I've dreamt about doing since I started doing this in 2022. Run consistent splits, smash through the stations, and whilst having the best time. And it's amazing because now I'm super excited to take this race strategy, this data, and have a greater sense of clarity of where to progress from here. Like, I really only need to dial up stuff by a notch here, save some time in the rock zone, and that's it. Like, I really feel like I've cracked how I need to run Hyrox and how I can progress from here. That is how I went from running my worst race to my perfect race. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Peace.